Okay.
We're going to see how to straighten copper tube and then use a tube bender to bend it. This is the proper tool for bending 1/4 inch copper tube. This is actually meant for instrument tube bending. It's a very nice tube bender. It's got rollers on it for making nice smooth bends. We're going to see how to use this device. This tool, or its duplicate right here, is a tube cutter, and we're going to be using this to cut the tube to the right length. But before we do any bending with it, we have to take this piece of tube from this coiled copper spool and straighten it out. If you take it by hand and try to straighten it piece by piece, you get a pretty ugly result. So what I want to show you how to do is, after unrolling a section of tube from the spool, I want to show you how to straighten it out nice and neat using a vise. What I'm going to do first is cut the tube. I clamp the tube cutter around the tube like this, and I keep spinning it around, and I spin it a couple times, and I tighten down this nut just a little bit, and that presses the sharp edge roller deeper into the circumference of the tube. I keep spinning it around until I feel it get loose. Now I tighten down a little bit more. I spin it around. I just repeat this cycle. Tighten down a little bit more. Spin it around. There we go. And what I have right here is a very nice cut on the tube. Nice and sharp. It's a whole lot better than if you try to take a saw and cut it. So please do not use a saw for this purpose. And then what I need to do at this point is deburr the tube. So tube cutters are supposed to have a deburring tool on them like this. And the way this works, you take the pointy part of the deburring tool, you put it into the end of the tube, and you give it a couple twists. What that does is it takes off the sharp edge that's left by the cutting tool. Normally that sharp edge rolls the copper in and chokes off the inside diameter of the tube. You want to do that to both ends of the tube to make sure the tube you have is able to give you a good flow. And notice that right there. This was the original end of the spool of copper tube. That end is all smashed, whatever the proper term is here. That's no good for tube bending work. You want to make sure you have a nice round cross section. So I'm going to take my tube cutter again, clamp it around the end of the tube, and repeat the process. There we go. I've even seen pocket versions of tube cutters that are literally only about 1.5 inches long. They work very nicely on copper tube. So we'll take this, we'll deburr the inside of the tube, and now we've got a piece of copper tube that is, well, not exactly straight. Now what you could do, and I've seen people do this before, you could actually take the tube and very gently push it into a straight shape and use it. However, this can be very tedious and does not always give the best results. So I wanted to show you another technique which is useful for straightening out the copper tube. Now this technique I'm about to show you will pretty much nullify the work that I did in smoothing out the tube, but I just wanted to show you how it works. I'm going to clamp the tube in the vise, maybe about 1/2 inch of tube in the end of the vise, down. Then the other end of the tube, I'm going to swing it this way to move out of the way. There we go. I'm going to take either a pair of channel locking pliers or vice grips. I'm going to grip the other end of the tube as such. Tighten it down. So you see I have a nice firm grip on one end of the tube, nice firm grip on the other end of the tube. You take this precision adjustment tool right here, and that's how you get a straight tube. That make sense? You don't want to overdo it. Copper is a work hardening metal, so if you stretch the copper too much, it actually becomes brittle and can cause problems later. To support that tube, we take it out, and now you've got a nice straight piece of copper tube, much better than if you tried to do it piecemeal with your fingers trying to straighten it out. Make sense? Mm-hmm. I've seen this actually done with a pickup truck on stainless tubing before. It's a very nice technique. Now, of course, before we start doing our tube bending, what we want to do is take our tube cutter, cut off the ends, deburr them, do all that stuff, and proceed with our bending. So let's stop the video at this point.